BBC Audio presents Hilda Tablet, The Complete Plays, a series of mockumentaries written by Henry Reed and first broadcast on the third programme between 1953 and 1959. In these plays, fictional biographer Herbert Reeve goes in search of the truth about his hero, the equally fictional novelist Richard Shewin. But when Reeve's research leads him to the avant-garde composeress Hilda Tablet, he finds himself inescapably enmeshed in her world of wild eccentricity. When Reed first wrote A Very Great Man Indeed, no sequel was planned and, in fact, Hilda Tablet is not the main focus of that first play. But, as Reed wrote in a letter to a friend, one particular scene made him curious to know more. What would have happened next between Reeve and Hilda? And so, the later scripts were written, and the Hilda Tablet plays became a landmark in radio satire.
We present A Very Great Man Indeed, an investigation for radio written by Henry Reed. The music composed by Donald Swan, with Hugh Burton as Herbert Reeve, a scholar.
The late Richard Shewin has been justly called the poet's novelist. Other and abler pens than ours have done justice to the work that earned for him the title of the Balzac of the 20th century. It is now 10 years and more since he died, but his great series of novels are still strikingly relevant to our predicament today. Indeed, Shewin may certainly be regarded as the noblest precursor of the Second Elizabethan Age. But his literary glory is not our theme, nor is it any part of our aim to trace the magical spell that Shewin has cast over his younger fellow craftsmen, though it may be fairly said that scarcely a novelist since has been untouched by his influence. We have only to think of the late Sir Hugh Walpole, cut off in the plenitude of his powers, or of Mr. Graham Greene and Mr. Angus Wilson, happily still with us. The glory of all this, we have said, is not our theme, which is no less than the man himself. Even so, it is in Shewin's actual fiction that we find our first hint for an attempted discovery of the man behind the words, the first clue, we might almost say. At the close of one of his earliest novels, The Hot and the Cold, Mrs. Heppel and Peter Scutcheon are discussing the death of the man they have both, in their different ways, loved. It may be remarked in passing that Shewin's narrative style has not, in The Hot and the Cold, perhaps shaken itself quite free of certain early influences. No matter. It is a young man's book. Mrs. Heppel is talking with Scutcheon.
But no, dear friend.
She all but breathlessly flung the small word at him, so that he, poor Scutcheon, could not fail, almost pointedly, to stare at her tone.
You could always find him if you wanted to, even though the dear fellow isn't here any more.
Scutcheon was ruefully to admit to himself for many years after that it was her fine eyes rather than her fine words that did it for him, which didn't, however, at that moment keep him from all doubtfully putting to her,
You could, you mean, find him in...
Yes?
She smilingly invited.
In The Horrid Mother, you mean?
He had all but pronounced, when Mrs. Heppel swept The Horrid Mother so magnificently out of the way, and with her, as Scutcheon forcibly sensed, the horrid brothers and sisters as well, that it was some small minute before he, still hazily, disengaged that she had done this only to sweep them with one of her high gestures ever so gloriously back again.
Then who, my dear...
He was just about to face her with, when she, instead, faced him, and quite fairly and squarely let him have it.
All of them. The whole jolly lot.
She radiantly brought out.
They all had a parcel of him. He was never, poor fellow, his own. They divided him, but with an unscrupulousness, among themselves. You'd only ever understand him if, quite triumphantly, you understood the whole family as well.
Which,
he pertinently blurted,
I almost, don't.
The end.
Let us confess it frankly, that
Sample complete. Ready to continue?